On the 25th of March 2019, DICE and Criterion Games released a brand new experience for the players of Battlefield 5. This is Firestorm.
In front. Another dead. Nice.
Firestorm. I have wanted to talk about this game for years. This game was so close to becoming something absolutely great, but it was doomed from the very beginning. Firestorm was actually revealed before Battlefield 5 even came out. It was set to release sometime after launch, and that's really all we knew about it. This was Battlefield's first real venture into this new genre of FPS that had become so popular over the years. And this came out a full year before Call of Duty Warzone took over. This was the golden opportunity. So what happened here? It was never made free to play. Firestorm released as part of this $60 Battlefield 5 experience, and it was always meant to be that way. The people over at EA, they're unable to use their tiny little brains to realize that a Battle Royale game not being free to play, it's not gonna work. Call of Duty already made this mistake a year earlier with Blackouts. And here's the worst part. Apex Legends released just a month earlier in February, and it was, at least until Warzone came out, the biggest launch for a BR game. It was massively successful, and it showed that a free-to-play BR with cosmetics can be extremely popular and very profitable. Before I continue, leave a like on the video. That really helps me out, and maybe subscribe if you haven't done that already. Thank you. I'm not saying that Firestorm would have been as successful as Apex Legends. That's ridiculous. I mean, Apex is more popular now than it ever has been, and it was clearly a much more thought out, much more time put into it kind of experience at launch. But I really do think that a free-to-play Firestorm would have been absolutely amazing, and it would have filled a niche in the BR genre that just didn't exist at the time. Fortnite, that blew up a year earlier, free to play. Apex Legends, free to play. Warzone, free to play. There's no reason why Firestorm should have been $60 in comparison to these other games. It's ridiculous, and everybody knew that, except for EA. In 2019, the age of BR games costing money was over. Especially for a game like Battlefield. It's not a massive franchise. There just aren't enough players to sustain a Battle Royale game. Especially since there was no crossplay back then. You need a lot of players to fill up servers consistently. The idea that this game at $60 is supposed to have players still playing after like 3 months is laughable. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. A couple months in, you were looking at a minute-long wait time to find a match, and it was almost never full. And if you somehow try to play the game today, I don't even know if a match would ever start, but even if you somehow got into a game, you're only doing it in solos and everybody is teaming, so good luck with that. The game is by all means completely dead at this point, and it has been since basically 6 months after launch. It was also around this time that Firestorm was effectively just left to die, and all the updates that were planned for the game never came out. It was cancelled. So why am I even talking about this game? It died like 3 years ago. Well, it's freaking awesome! This was easily my favorite BR game ever made. And I played a lot of them. PUBG, Fortnite, Apex, Warzone 1 and 2, totally accurate battlegrounds. I played Radical Heights. Radical freaking Heights! Does anyone remember that? No? I'm definitely a little bit biased. I love Battlefield, and so of course a Battlefield BR is going to be especially interesting to me. But I genuinely do believe that this was a very compelling and immersive experience, and it's something that's unique in the BR space even today. The game is a classic BR. You have 64 players, you have a massive map, you find loot on the ground or in crates. The circle gets smaller and smaller until one team or one player is left. The map takes place in the mountains of Norway, And it's like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. The graphical fidelity of this map is just unmatched. The storm itself, well, the Firestorm, it just looks cool, man. It's very intimidating. It really gets the point across that you need to move now or you're toast. Like, I mean, literally toast. All of the character models and the weapon models, everything is like top tier, AAA quality. The animations look amazing in this game as well. All of this, of course, is carried over from Battlefield 5. And the map is not just a looker either. It plays really well. The pacing overall of this game, I would say, is fantastic. The number of engagements and the overall speed of the game, I would say similar to Warzone. So it's a fairly fast-paced BR. And my favorite part about the map is just how much nature there is. Now, there's still plenty of buildings and more dense areas of the map, but most of your engagements are going to be in and out of the forest. And I just love this. When I play Warzone, I feel like I'm just fighting so much in and around buildings and like dark rooms and with no lights, people hiding in corners all the time. Not so much in this game. And it's not like you don't have any cover at all. There are plenty of trees, bushes, and rocks, and lots of different elevations to make the engagements interesting. And even when people are hiding in buildings. This is Battlefield. Just blow up the building, blow up the wall. Some guy camping in the window, no problem. Just shoot the whole house down. There are plenty of explosives that you can loot, and you can always hold an explosive gadget. This creates a much less campy game. People don't just sit in corners as much, and in my opinion, much less frustrating. You don't just randomly get insta-killed all the time from a guy you missed that was on the roof of some random building you just walked by. It feels a bit more predictable and less random overall, which is something that I really appreciate. There are a few things that set this game apart, for better or for worse. The UI is actually quite good. It shows you what you need to know. It's not intrusive. The inventory is pretty easy to navigate. You have a quick menu with 4 different items, so like healing, plates, maybe an explosive, perhaps a flare or something like that. You can switch items in and out of your quick menu on the fly depending on what you need. You can also clearly see how much ammo you have, and like dropping ammo is very easy. You can also find bigger backpacks in order to store more items in total. Now the looting. It's really bad. Looting players more specifically. All of the loot just falls on the ground, close to each other. It's just such a big mess. It's impossible to like click on the thing that you want. Items clip through each other and like through the walls, they get stuck in a wall. It's a disaster. So, what's the fix? Well, a loot box, of course, like Apex Legends. It was such an easy fix, and in fact, this update was being worked on by the devs. But guess what? The game was cancelled before the update even came out. So, that was epic. In terms of weapons, you can carry 2 primary weapons and a sidearm, so like 2 big guns and a pistol. The weapons in this game work much like Fortnite. There are 3 tiers of each weapon: common, rare, and epic. So a common SCG would be naked. A rare one might have a red dot sight and a specialization. A specialization in Battlefield 5 is basically a perk that makes the gun slightly better. And an epic version might have a longer range scope with a full set of specializations to make it more accurate, ADS faster, etc. As it is a World War II game, the guns reflect that, and they're all from that kind of time period. The weapons and gunplay carry over from Battlefield 5, and it just works really well. I have no complaints about how the guns work, the gunplay overall. It just feels really nice and fun to use. However, the weapon balancing, not the greatest. I feel like I figured out the meta pretty quickly. It was the Epic brand and SCG especially were very strong. Snipers also very, very powerful, since most engagements are at medium to long range. However, I would let that slide a little bit, since the game was barely relevant long enough for a meta to even form in the first place. And of course, I do think it is okay for some weapons to be better than others, especially in a game like this where you're just looting for more stuff. So it feels really nice when you find like an epic weapon on the ground. You're like, yes, this is sick! Or you kill an enemy team and you pick up their loot and you upgrade your weapon. So I'm okay with the balance not being great, but armor works pretty much exactly like in Warzone. You can have a maximum of 3. They give you 50 HP per plate. However, you only start with a small vest, and you have to find either a medium or a large one to get 2 or 3 plates maximum. This is something I think Warzone does way, way better. You start with 3 plates regardless, like having the ability to have 3 plates, and it just makes the game much more fair. Nobody wants to die to somebody because they had the big armor vest and you only had the small one. It just doesn't feel good. Squad reinforcements. This is pretty interesting. So you can loot flare guns that come in different varieties. There's the basic supply drop that gives some high tier loot. One that spawns a random vehicle for you, including sometimes a tank. There's an artillery strike, and of course, if you have played this game, you know about the V1 rockets.
Oh my god.
Oh, I hit him.
I
hit him.
I got hits too.
Now, supply drops, vehicle drops, whatever, they're fine, they're balanced. But those artillery strikes, and especially the V1, it gets ridiculous sometimes. If you're in the final circle with, let's say, 15 plus kills as a team combined, chances are you'll have multiple artillery strikes or V1 rockets, and you can use them as late as you want. Eventually, the circle is so small, the whole circle is just covered with V1 rockets coming in and other explosives. It gets really dumb. There definitely should have been a point in the match where, like, you can't use these anymore, the circle's too small. But it did make for some fun moments, I suppose. I also need to mention vehicles. You can, of course, find transport vehicles all across the map, but sometimes in a lucky supply drop or in the vehicle bunkers. They take a while to open, everyone knows that you're trying to open them, but if you do get in, you are rewarded with a big tank. And it's basically as broken as it sounds, especially if you can survive until late game. It's basically over. Now, luckily, there are plenty of anti-tank rockets and other kinds of explosives around the map. So almost every player is gonna carry at least a few explosives. But a lot of times, you just run out. And if you're in the final circle with a big tank, there's literally nothing you can do. Bullets aren't gonna do anything. You just lose at that point. I don't think heavy tanks should be in this game, period. Not totally game-breaking, but just very, very annoying. There are objectives that spawn halfway throughout the match. Just like a flag in Conquest, you can capture it with your team. And if you do, you get some nice loot for it. The catch is that everybody else can see that the capture point is being captured. So it's a really interesting kind of risk-reward thing where if you take it really quick, you get some nice loot, but chances are an enemy team might come. And I did this quite a lot, where you would see a capture point being taken, you rush over there, you kill them, take all the loot, they did all the work for you. Feels really fun to do. It's nice to have something to do other than just sitting around waiting for the circle to get smaller. Yeah, there we go. That's Firestorm. Even though I only got to play this for a few months, and I don't know, maybe 50 hours or so, I have so many good memories. The visuals, the weapons, the map itself, the overall feel of this game is something really, really special to me, and no other BR game has even come close to giving me that same feeling ever since. But man, what an absolute massive missed opportunity this game was. I honestly just assumed that it would be free to play. I never imagined that it would be just part of the $60 game. It just seems like completely brain dead. Like, why would they ever do that? There's no way. It's gonna be free to play 100%. This was Battlefield's golden opportunity to come back after Battlefield 5's a rocky start and just like become a really popular game. EA could have had 2 successful BR games. Apex and Firestorm together could have been something special, I think. Instead, later next year, we got Warzone 1 that completely took over the FPS genre, which, to be fair, I do enjoy Warzone 1. I had fun with that, but I can't stop thinking about what may have been if only things had been different with Firestorm. Man, I really wish this game got a revival. I know that's never happening, but man, I can dream, okay? EA, make things right. Make Firestorm free to play. Firestorm 2023, let's go! I have been Glassy, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. I'm just gonna go over here and drink some of my copium. Yeah.